Welcome everybody to the TechCast. This is show 189. Matt's not here today. He's under his desk at work trying to fill out some paperwork. So it's just myself and Vince.
Hi, I'm
Um,
good.
so it's gonna be a little rough because we don't have Matt to guide the ship, but if you want to get in contact with us, you can email us at contact@the3cast.com. You can catch us on Facebook at facebook.com/the3cast, or you can catch us on Twitter at twitter.com/the3cast. We usually do the show every Wednesday. We're going to be switching to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can figure that out for whichever time zone you're in. We tried last week. Again, it was just me and Vince, and I couldn't get the stupid Google Hangout shit to work. Thanks, Google. And now Vince is going to intro our topic for this week.
All right, so despite the fact that we were delayed last week and not getting our show out, as many of our listeners know, we're also big game aficionados, and last week was E3, and that's typically the big kind of like WDC or like the big San Diego Comic-Con, all the other geeky stuff that we do. E3 is the kind of tipping point for video games. And well, it's supposed to be Electronic Entertainment Expo, but we really only care about the video games. We don't care about like the stupid Leapfrog stuff. Actually, you know what, Ricky, you and I actually would care about Leapfrog and all that stuff. But believe that for maybe a few years later when our kids are all fighting for that stuff. But anyway, typically E3 is a huge thing where all games, a huge billion-dollar industry. It outstrips the Hollywood industry, and a lot of hoopla is usually made out of it. But this year, it's actually been a mixed bag. I would actually say, I'd even go so far as to say it was a pretty big disappointment. There was a lot of stuff that was teased in terms of, say, CGI animation trailers and stuff, but very little in terms of real content, and that was a real disappointment. What's even worse is that even though they teased a lot of really great products coming out, they really were disappointing a lot of fans in announcing either that projects were not going to come out on time and be delayed later on this year, or worse still, they'd be delayed to a point where it was to be announced, where they didn't know when it was going to come out. So titles such as, say, Batman Gotham Knight, which I was really, really hoping for because everyone knows Batman's the best comic book hero there is. But once they had announced that Gotham Knight was going to come out in October, it's been subsequently delayed till I think next year, 2015, in like the beginning of it, which is ridiculous. They've also teased a bunch of really cool things like the Order, for example, for PS4, and that's, I believe, going to come out next year as well. So it's really unfortunate that they've hyped out a lot of things, but they're not going to come out this year. Instead, we're going to kind of have to like get the rinse and repeat stuff. Like, they're going to come out with another Call of Duty, except it's called Call of Duty Advanced something, whatever. You probably know better than I would because I could care less about shooters. But they showed that. They showed Assassin's Creed Unity, which is supposed to be good, but I mean, it's just like I think Ubisoft and Activision, they just kind of have these annual things. You might as well call it like NHL, right? Like these things are coming out every year. It's not like it's unexpected for these things to come out. I'm more interested in the cool titles that like the Arkham Cities, or sorry, the Arkham Knights, the sequels to Bayonetta, even though it's coming out for a defunct system. So there's there's a whole bunch of really cool things that are potentially out there, right? But at the end of the day, I think that the lineup itself, we'll talk more about specific games and companies, but overall, would you agree that, Ricky, this has been a pretty disappointing E3?
Well, yeah, I think even further than disappointing E3, it's been kind of a disappointing time for games, really. Like, the Xbox One came out, the PS4 came out, but I haven't really seen any huge fanfare, right? Like there was there was the big thing about Watch Dogs, when they showed off that trailer,
Yep.
and then there was the big thing about we talked that the game for the Xbox One, what is it called? That new game, the like you're in the yeah, that's it. And but apart from that, like I haven't really seen anything that or even heard any great buzz from people saying, oh, I gotta get the PS4, or you know what I mean, like back in the day when Call of Duty would drop, it's like everyone would go crazy, and then when there was hints of the new ones, I don't know, it feels kind of flat this year, so far.
Well, let's actually delve into a little bit because if you look at some of the you're talking about basically console sellers, right? Like, remember
Yeah,
when
yeah, yeah.
PlayStation came out first off, the original
Yeah,
PlayStation? Yeah,
Xbox.
like they had like Halo, or you had Final Fantasy VII, Crash Bandicoot. Like those are like flagship titles for those consoles. You're right. I think that a lot of the companies are still just really greedy, and they want to kind of sell stuff PS3 and PS4,
Yeah, they
Xbox
want to go.
360 and Xbox One. So a lot of the titles that they were announcing still were very much both platforms. I mean, both generations. This in the current generation and the previous generation, which is a little bit unfortunate because you're right. There's no real reason to push me to get it. But let's talk about a couple of companies then. So one of the console sellers that is unique to specific consoles would be like, say, Uncharted 4. And yet again, disappointment. They showed a trailer which was just pretty much CGI stuff. They didn't show any gameplay. And people in the conference were freaking out when they saw it. It was amazing, but it was just a teaser trailer. And quite frankly, I don't think that's going to sell. I think if we look at Sony in general, they really haven't got much aside from maybe I don't know, maybe Did you see the Little Big Planet 3?
Which one?
Little Big Planet 3?
Oh no, I haven't. No. Does it
Okay, so they're
look
coming out with
really
Little Big
good?
Planet 3 for PS4, and it looks like it's going to be kind of cool. But again, I was trying to look because I play that with my daughter, and I was looking for some really cool differences. So you get to play like different types of. It's not, instead of just that sack boy, you can play like a sack dog, a
Yeah.
sack bird, and stuff. But I was looking at the graphic comparisons, and if they really want to make a really good console seller, they should really show me that there's a significant difference. Like maybe it's just
Yeah.
Little Big Planet graphics were so damn good on PS3, but the PS4 graphics,
Yeah. Well,
that's
here's the thing though. That's what like you said. I don't really understand. Like who are they trying to please, right? I mean, it's kind of hard, right? Because if you're putting out the game and you're gonna say it works on PS3, it works on PS4, it works on Xbox One, it works on Xbox 360. It doesn't even make sense from the point of, oh, I'm the game developer, I want to hit all the platforms so I can make the most money, because you're not really making the most money because you're not pushing anyone to go and buy the PS4 when the game will play on the PS3, right? I mean, granted, people could say, oh, the PS4, it's got more power and stuff like that. But, who's going to say that? You know what I mean? Like, not the majority of the market. That's more the hardcore gamer, which is, it's not the majority of the market. You know what I mean?
yeah,
If you look back even at the PC industry, because gaming industry is actually very close to the PC industry, and it would be that whenever there was a new version of software, like for instance Photoshop, or like something like big software, Formz, Photoshop, whatever,
right.
it would take a more powerful machine to run it, and that's what pushed people to upgrade. And with computer games, it's the same thing. Whenever new games come out, you need a more powerful graphics card, or the fact that your 5-year-old graphic card is 512 megs of memory. There's 2 gigabyte cards out there now, right? So it pushes people to upgrade so that they can get that top-notch quality gameplay, right? So I don't know. For me, it's like I find it weird that they wouldn't, like you said, like certain games that come out, they wouldn't say PS4 only. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like to me, it's like either you're kind of scared that people aren't buying the new one,
Hmm.
or you know what I mean, like you're not gonna make money on the game if you do that. I don't understand the logic behind it, because if you push the boundaries of what the hardware can do, put it out, say Xbox One, PS4 only, or PS4 only. You know what I mean? Like, then people will upgrade their hardware, they'll get the great gameplay, and they'll know, that I need PS4 to play this. It's not like they'll play it and say, oh, gee, the graphics look just like, I could have just kept my PS3. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's kind
Yeah.
of confusing.
But you know what's also just while we're on the topic of Sony, I want to talk about two other issues. The first one is, are you familiar with the PS Plus? Not the PlayStation Plus.
Yeah.
But it's the other I can't remember what it's called. It's basically the PlayStation model where they're gonna let you play, and I don't know how the hell they're gonna do it because they didn't really talk about it too much, but they alluded to it that I have a PlayStation Vita and I can
Yeah.
play the same game on like a PlayStation 4 and then continue my game on a PS3, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I think I heard something like that.
I
Yeah,
don't
yeah, yeah.
get how they can even do that because listen, man, if you're playing a PS4 game and you just based on what you just talked to me about, like the hardware capacities, it does not seem to ring true that I should be able to just
Yeah.
play my my Little Big Planet 3 on my PlayStation Vita. Like it's like going from
Yeah.
like a PlayStation 4 to like an I don't know a Game Boy. Like I mean, it's just not physically the hardware isn't the same. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
possible. Like like
I mean, yeah, that seems weird. That unless I'm thinking what they might do is they might have like like a thin client kind of thing, whereas all the heavy lifting is done by their servers. So the Vita is basically just a thin client pushing the graphics on the screen. You know what I mean?
But doesn't that mean that we're all just basically gonna pay like the big telecoms like money for like being able to play our
Pretty
game?
much.
Kind of like
Pretty much.
like the way I put it is
Because
like when you play those first-person shooters or those online racing games or like Minecraft, you're not paying for the game. You're paying like Verizon or whoever the hell you're
that's providing
yeah, exactly.
your connection, right? But I mean, that's the only way that I can think of, because, like you said, there's no way you can go from a PS4 to a Vita and then it would look normal, right? Like, or you know what I mean? Like the gameplay would stay the same. Like that's unless they have like some secret, whatever in their back friggin' offices or something.
Well, no, they're Sony. They're gonna mess it up. I don't know how they.
But I mean, I also saw at E3 that the PS Vita is like done or something, or it's
No, it's just
axed, or
no. It's just that the impression was given that like they were trying to push the PS Vita a lot, and then and it's not like
all of a
Sony didn't
sudden,
on it. It's just that
yeah,
they really didn't show a good number of titles. They were really focused more on the PS4 stuff. The only time they really showed the PS Vita was when they were talking about, oh look, man, you can play games from the PS4 on your PS Vita, and they're like,
then transfer.
how does that work, right?
Yeah.
You can use it as a rearview mirror for Gran Turismo. um, but let's just while we're with the other companies, then just one little thing about Sony though, and we're going to probably talk about this for the other companies, but um, I'm noticing a lot of rehash. Like they were talking about the rehash for The Last of Us, which was probably one of the better games in the last generation for PS3. And they're also talking about not exclusive to PlayStation, but they're also talking about rehashing and upgrading Grand Theft Auto 5, which came out like what, a year ago almost, or like 6 months ago, for the PS4. You're seeing a lot of that again, which, as you said, kind of alludes to the fact that the industry is kind of being a little bit more tepid. But if we go to like Xbox, for example, that's one where I think that I really wanted to see something pushed because they're the poor guys like they're the ugly kid at the dance, right? Like they're not quite the kid that gets beat up at school. That's Nintendo. We'll get to them in a sec. But like we're talking about Xbox, where last year they really dropped the ball on their console. They had the ability to like do the Kinect or do it without the Kinect. Then they had to retract the online stuff, then retract, then the media stuff, retract. This year they kind of said, yeah, we got a Kinect now that doesn't have the, I'm sorry, an Xbox One that doesn't have the Kinect, right? We've addressed all these like games and use game things and all that stuff. But to me, they really tried too hard to talk about the games as opposed to like the media console and stuff. But the problem is that they had no games aside from more Titanfall propaganda. Aside from the, of course, the Halo announcement. I really couldn't put my finger on anything that was good or anything notable for the way Xbox was or Microsoft was going to pull anything together. And I'm not sure if it's just because Microsoft's a little bit too thin because they're really doing that big push on the new Surface, or like I mean they're obviously different divisions, but it's just really weird that they're just not doing anything. Like aside from Halo, I don't think anyone can say there's anything that's worthwhile on
pushing
the Xbox
it to go to that platform. Well, the thing is, yeah, with Xbox, with Microsoft, I don't know, it's kind of weird, right? You're kind of scared with them because I don't know, they seem to like throw everything at the wall, see what sticks. Stick around. If they take too much of a loss, they just cut it and get out. So it's like, I mean, I can't really see them, saying, okay, well, after Xbox One, we're not doing any more Xbox. But, like you said, if you think back, maybe I'm just being nostalgic, but I mean, where are the exclusives, right? Where are the games that are pushing people? Like you said, beyond Titanfall, and what's it called, Halo? That like,
Well, Forza, because I don't know driving games. Like this is the stuff that I talk to you about because fighting games. I'm sorry, driving games and shooting games.
And the shooters.
Yeah. So I mean, it's best to know that stuff. But I mean, those are the only two titles that I see. And again, this comes back to our age-old discussion of the Xbox is made for North American gamers. They don't care about role-playing games as much. They don't care about like puzzlers or fighting games for that matter. What they want is they want shooters and racers.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, I don't know. I kind of noticed with the consoles. I don't know if it's because of the whole mobile smartphone, the casual gamer kind of thing. I think it's like right now, whereas before they used to create their hardware and they'd update it every 4 or 5 years, and they were the only ones in the space, so they knew that they had the lion's share of the market. And now, you got Rovio with the Angry Birds, and you got even the little developers coming out like Flappy Bird, making 50 grand a day or a week or whatever the hell it was. And it's cutting into their kind of thing. And I don't know, to me, it looks to me like they don't know where to turn, what to do, and then you can especially see with Nintendo where they came out with the Wii U, which is basically like an iPad, but they didn't know what the hell they were doing with it, right? But I think all these guys, it's the same thing. They don't really know, where Xbox, it's trying to be like a media center along with the game console because they've got the Wave thing to change the channels, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
So to me, it's kind of like they're like, okay, how do we go up against the casual gamers? How do we go up against the smartphones? Our consoles cost, $500-600. That's the same cost as an iPad or whatever. You know what I mean? And it's like they're trying to figure out, okay, how do we do this? And for me, it's kind of like they're confused. So, the games on the other end, of course, they're like kind of standing back and saying, okay, do we really want to do exclusives for Xbox? Because if no one buys it, then, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think they really need to look at it and think, okay, do we kind of do what the smartphones do? Because, most people that play PS4 and Xbox now, you have to have Xbox Live or the PlayStation Network, right? Kind of an online thing. And you have to have internet in order to do that. So do they approach the internet companies and say, okay, once they jump on this network, they're pushing the games, they're pushing more data, can you subsidize the hardware? That way we can provide an Xbox One for $200. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that's what they should do. I'm just saying they should start thinking about, is there ways that we can sort of get the hardware cheaper to get it into more hands, or, like you said, go out and try to get these exclusives.
Yeah.
Open up your own game studio if you have to, because it is the exclusives that are going to push people to buy one over the other. Because if I can get, Call of Duty on both, you know what I mean? What's going to make me get the Xbox One? Who cares if I can switch channels with it? You know what I mean? Like,
Right, right. So,
it's.
so I just want to keep on going here, but it's out of time. Like the other company, of course, the failure company would have been Nintendo. In my books, I'm surprised that Nintendo's still around. In the New Year's episode, I think I made a prediction that Nintendo would be like gone, but I think it takes a little bit longer to kill Pokemon, right?
Maybe they're going to be like BlackBerry.
But everyone
Never heard, but they're still making millions off their software.
Oh man, you know what's weird? Just as a side note, did you know that in Canada, where do you think there are the most blackberries?
Waterloo?
Yeah, that makes the most sense, right? Kitchener or Waterloo? No,
Yeah, yeah.
Toronto.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, because that's what I figured, but I was like, it would make sense that it would be
What's wrong with you
Waterloo.
people? No, it's not. Like, it's not like the number of units, because obviously Toronto would beat out every place, right? But it's like
Yeah,
percentage. There's more percentage basis per like
yeah.
person. Like that's crazy. Anyhow, Nintendo. Speaking of failures, Nintendo. Um, they're really suffering. Their console, the Wii U, is basically dying. I mean, I think Nintendo can only stay afloat if they either, we talked about this before, sell their characters to like other platforms, which the president has said no, or we basically the only way they float is they make another mobile console, like another Game Boy, whatever, Game Boy X or something, right? But if you look at what they've got, they're doing the whole big push for there's Super Smash Brothers. They're trying to talk about the new Zelda game they showed. It's like more of the same. I'm surprised, and everyone was saying that they expected another, like with the console. They want a shooter, right? Because Nintendo needs a shooter.
Yeah.
Of course, Metroid did not get announced or really shown at all. So Nintendo is not doing itself any favors. I mean, there's only so much you can do on the Pokemon front, because those kids that played Pokemon, like I actually was thinking about this. Those kids that played Pokemon, they're like 22. Like they're basically it was weird. I was talking to my graduate students that I did not fail, and they were like, "Yeah, we were playing with Pokemon," and I was like, "Oh my God, I am old." It's just ridiculous.
Yep.
I mean, there's nothing that is on Nintendo's radar that is.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the thing is, when you think about Nintendo, of course you think NES right away, Super Mario Brothers, but I mean, they had Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, and then it's like, I don't know, they just fell off the wagon. PlayStation, Xbox came out. I don't know if they kind of lost their marbles, didn't know where to go or whatever, but I mean, if you look at the Wii, it's like they said, okay, Xbox and PlayStation are going after the serious gamers. So what we're gonna do is instead we're gonna go after the kids and maybe the parents of those kids, right? Because if you look at the console, the specs is not that powerful. The games that it plays, I mean, they got a hit when they went with the whole motion thing, because they were the first on the scene with it. But like everyone knows, anyone who bought a Wii, after a little while the nostalgia wore off. It sits in a closet or under your bed or whatever. So it's weird. I think, like you said, I think it would be smart, because if you look at Xbox, they don't have any sort of handheld anything. The PS Vita is not that great or whatever, right? It would be smart for them, because whereas Android and iPhone, smartphones or whatever, those are actually, they are gaming devices, but not primarily. So if Nintendo came out with a primary gaming device, but it's handheld, but they can't do what they did with Sony and Microsoft, where they tried to make it cheaper and the specs aren't as good. So they
Mhm.
can't come out with something where, the iPhone is 5 times greater than this thing. They've got to come out with something. I mean, at the end of the day, you know what I mean? They're not doing the phone stuff. Of course they could do, you can browse the internet, stuff like that, but they're not doing the phone stuff. So, put in an octa-core processor, put in 4 gigs of RAM, like whatever the smartphone is, double it, and make your hardware like like crazy shit. Like I
It's
don't
like
know.
Samsung's going to come out with another one, and then Apple's going to sue it for copying its ideas or something.
Well, the thing is, what I think it's like when you look at Nintendo, you look at the guys they're playing against, right? Like, so if you look at PlayStation 3, Xbox One, which is when the Wii came out, the Wii specs don't even come close. So to me, it's kind of like, they said, okay, we need hardware that we can sell cheaply because these consoles are really expensive. And they did the hardware, and then they said, okay, well, these are the limits of the hardware, so let's do games that will not, that this hardware can handle. Like, it's just like you're building a crappy experience instead of putting your money and saying, okay, we're going to build hardware that's up to what we're going up against or better, and then put out some games. You know what I mean? Like, okay, so Nintendo is not for the hardcore gamer. You have top-notch friggin' hardware. You have exclusives like Mario. Make a new Mario game that pushes the limits of the hardware. Put out the old Mario game that Xbox cannot have, PS4 cannot have. You know,
I think
people who are
honestly, that
nostalgic.
is gone though, Rick. Like, I mean, think about it. That kid that was playing like, let's say, not Duck Hunt, but like whatever, like say, F-Zero, or playing, I don't know, Mario Kart even. They said, screw this, I'm gonna go play Forza, or I'm gonna play Gran Turismo. They moved up in the world, I think.
But
Um,
I think
but,
I
but
think you know what though? I think like parents who are out there like you or me, even if they went further back, I mean, I'm not saying they may have the rights or whatever, but look for the rights. Look for old games like Pac-Man, Tetris, Space Invaders, like stuff like that. Because the thing is, if you have a good stable of newer games that kids know and they'll want it, you'll catch with the retro games the older parents who will want their kids to play that, and the kids will see it as something that they don't see on any other platform. And I'm not saying they'll get hooked, but they'll like it. And the
they'll be like,
major thing
yeah,
is
Daddy
that
plays
you
crappy
have
games.
it. What?
Yeah, my kids will be like, Daddy played crappy games, and he had it rough, man. He's like cave painting.
They'll be like, "Oh, you poor, poor man," and then you can be like, "I used to actually pay quarters to play
Oh,
these
no, no,
games."
actually, no, yeah, it's because actually they did a, oh crap, I was reading an article where they actually had a guy play games like, on the NES, like Contra,
Oh yeah,
Mega
yeah.
Man, and in those days, like, if you didn't have the up, up, down, down, left, right code to get the 30 people, right? He actually tried playing all these games like Gradius and stuff,
Yeah.
and he realized you can't play those games because and I believe he said they've pussified players nowadays. He said players today are pussies because they can't survive without like regenerating health and stuff. And he
Codes
starts
or
going into like tyrants, like
whatever.
you don't get to hide out and like gain your energy back. You got
Yeah,
shot, you died, right?
yeah,
You fell into the spikes, you died,
yeah.
right? You get to, like pull yourself out with half health and instead of regenerating. It's true though, because you're looking
Yeah.
at, yeah. Anyways, just one quick roundup though on all these games and stuff. So you're talking about all these like old console games and stuff. I found that just coming back, there are no real new properties. Even like, despite the fact that it's already disappointing, as you said, that games that we expect to come out, like the new Metroid, the new Kid Icarus, the new Super Mario, Super Galaxies or whatever. I don't know, whatever the hell you want to call it. But those things are not out, and we come to expect them. But that's bad. But then also we expect to see some new stuff, and the new stuff really isn't even there. And then we got, like I said, the stuff that we expect to see all the time, like there's going to be an upgrade to Grand Theft Auto for 5. There's going to be a Tomb Raider, whatever.
Yeah.
All that stuff, yeah, whatever. We had it, but there's no real new stuff. Like,
yeah, pushing.
The things that really shocked and awed people were like the first announcement of that Wii. Remember when it was like, oh my god, like movement or something, or oh wow, look at these like we're using the the Mode 7 graphics on the Super Nintendo. Like that was monumental. Nothing now shows up. Like, and that's the problem with me. Maybe it's not so much the disappointment in that like games aren't announced, but it's that even if the games we do know are announced, like the new Assassin's Creed, the new like Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, I think it's Warfare. But who cares? Because at the end of the day, there's nothing that's really going, oh, that's better than the PS3, or that's something that's really cool and new.
Yeah, which is funny because when the specs were announced for the PS4 and the Xbox One, we were kind of like, that's basically a desktop computer, right? I mean, better. It's like almost a server. Mm-hmm. And so you would have expected that there would be mind-blowing games that are so realistic because of this, crazy hardware, and we're sitting here waiting.
Yep.
So I don't know.
I don't know. We're playing too much waiting and not enough game. I'm waiting for Arkham Knight. I'm waiting for the Star Wars Battlefront. I don't know. I'm waiting for what's that new? It's from the makers of Dark Souls. It's like a Blood. I won't say Bloodhound or something, but it's like Blood something.
Yeah.
And it's another one of those brutal, hard role-playing games. Anyways, do you want to wrap it?
Yeah, well, so why don't you go ahead and do your pick of the week, and then I'll do mine.
Okay, so my pick of the week is the PlayStation headphones. You can get them for the PS4. They're really good. They're $100. They work off of I think it's Bluetooth. They're $100. You can get another type which is $150. I was looking at the specs. It's not really worth it to go to $150. Has a built-in mic. For a guy that plays games and has kids, like Ricky, trust me, you should consider doing this, man. It puts all the audio through the stereos through your headphones, so that when you're playing and kids apparently wake up to gunfire sounds. So I found that out, and my wife was with this. I put these headphones on, man. I put them on, played the game, and then next thing I know, it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. So it is just that good. Worthwhile investment. The charge is like 8 hours. Like I was playing it.
Oh wow, that's
solid. Like I put them on like at 10, 11 o'clock, and then it's like 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, oh man, I got a problem. So definitely pick it up. It's the only PlayStation earmuff headphones. They're $100. You could spring for the 150, but I don't think it's worthwhile. You can use it for PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, and it has an additional cable. So you can plug them in to like listen to your like MP3 player or whatever if you wanted to, but
that's not bad.
Recommend it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna do 2 recommendations since Matt's not here. Just picking up his slack. So my first recommendation is Plants vs. Zombies 2. For iOS. It's free. Well, actually, I know it's been out for a while, but I've never played it before. And I just, someone was saying how good it was, and I was like, okay, let me see how good this thing is. I grabbed it last week, and I'm like hooked. So, really cool game. You got to put your plants as these horde of zombies come across, and you have to be strategic about which plants you put where, because some plants give you extra sunshine, which is makes your plants regen faster, that you can put them on the board. Some shoot the zombies to kill them, some freeze them. So you got to be careful where you put them, because if the zombies get across through your plants, then you die. You start.
The lawnmower gets hurt.
Well, yeah, but then once the lawnmower is done, if they get through that line, then game game's over.
You know what's funny? Because my daughter plays that, and the funny thing about that game is that they tried to make that crappy story about the dude with the tacos.
Oh
My
yeah,
daughter
yeah,
was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
what the hell does tacos like? Every time now we go to Taco Bell, he's like, so do we feed zombies or something? And I'm like, how the hell did they manage to ingrain into my daughter that
Yeah,
plants, zombies, and tacos all come together?
taco and time travel.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they need to go to Rovio and ask them because at least you can say one thing about Angry Birds: they sure get the cutscenes right. They sure make
Well,
it a little interesting.
now they're bare minimum though. That's the thing.
Yeah, well, not
Oh,
bad. My next pick is lynda.com.
oh, absolutely.
L yeah, lynda.com.
I think we recommended
Um,
them before though.
huh?
I think we recommended them before. I might have.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't even know, but I went on there. They give you a 7-day free trial for you to see how great it is, and then after that, I think it's $20 a month for the most basic membership. But it's a really great site. They have a ton of things that you can
Yeah,
learn.
absolutely.
You know,
Like,
yeah,
you're if you're interested in like doing anything, like any software,
yeah,
take
and
take a look at the portfolio of stuff they have in Linda. Everybody from like any in the creative industries that use Photoshop and stuff to
yeah,
basic. Some of my colleagues that as well as they'd like to, great
yeah.
there. But even for like advanced like engineering guys, like some
Yep.
solid like SolidWorks
Developers, they have
or
lots of programming
that's all there. It is
stuff.
absolutely amazing.
Yep, and I don't know, it's amazing. Like
Oh,
I was listening through. I'm doing the Objective C stuff, and I've always loved programming. And after an hour, I was able to write a small, tiny little piece of code. But I mean, coming from no knowledge of Objective C, that blew my mind. But yeah, definitely it is just crazy good. So check it out, lynda.com, lynda.com.
and you can probably
Um,
get a few free like 1 week or 3 day trial or something.
yeah, 7 days,
Yeah,
7 days free.
get it. It's worth it.
So, yep, yeah. So definitely, that is it for us. We will be back next Wednesday. Matt should be back, and back to our usual antics. So see you guys later.
Take care, guys. Bye, Apple.